What up, players? It's War Boss Tay up in this mood. Check it out. Here is our finished Marine right here in the middle. I've got him next to his sergeant and his buddy over here on this side. His friend, the Beakmeister, here in the back, just hanging out. So today we are going to finish our model, and we're gonna shade, we're gonna highlight, we're gonna glaze, we're gonna do all sorts of awesome things. And yeah, I hope you like it. I also teach you in this video how I do purity seals for anybody out there who does Space Marines. These wax purity seals, you see them everywhere.
Oh
so.
My god! Put my lipstick back when you're done with it.
I'm not wearing a lipstick. Yes, he is. Hello, rubbish in, rubbish out. Hello, everybody. It's me, Igor. You guys are ridiculous. What up, players? It's War Boss Tay back here with you. Today we're going to do some shades and highlighting on our little Dark Angel guy. So the first thing we want to do is we are going to shade this guy's chest Aquila, and we're going to do that with some Seraphim Sepia. So you get your Seraphim Sepia, and it's a shade, and what it's going to do is it's going to give a nice little shade to the chest piece here. Sepia in general, I've always thought was really good for getting a nice rich depth to your bone colors. So like for Tomb Kings especially, because they had that very sun-blasted look to all their models. It was really good for it. We're gonna get Agrax Earthshade. We're going to color in the Purity Seals. And I believe for now, that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna wait until the armor is highlighted a little bit before we shade it. So I'm planning on doing some hobby beginner videos, I think I might have mentioned. And one of them I'm going to do is on how to highlight. How I highlight my armor, but I'm pretty much going to give you a little bit of a free preview of what that video is going to be like. So when I look at highlighting a model, I like to do it in 3 steps. You've got your base coat, which is the Caliban green that we painted. Then you find a color that to you is going to look good on top of it. And when I try to look for colors that complement each other, I kind of look to see how similar the 2 color tones are. So Warpstone Glow to me works the best, but you could also do, if you don't want to go that bright, you can go for more of this kind of teal turquoise-ish green, just Cabalite green. And then you highlight that way. Okay, and there's so much, with the new paints out now, there's so much variety, and you could really highlight up your models as cool or as bright or as dark as you want. So when you're actually highlighting the model, what I like to do is stick to the sharp edges that would catch the light and have the light reflect and glint off of the most. So like these corners of the shoulder pads, top of the shoulder pad, right here, the rims, the borders here. Then, once you lay down a little bit of paint, you do what I call drawing out the paint, which means that once you dab the paint on, like that, you use your paintbrush and you slowly feather out the sides until it blends into the color that's underneath it. And this is basically the one technique that I use across the board for all of my models. really simple, really effective. All you need is a little bit of brush control. It would help if you have a cork, like the kind I use right now, and just a little bit of brush control. I remember when Space Hulk first came out, or maybe not the first time it came out, but the second time when they were using models with it. I remember the Deathwing were the Terminators that you would use. I always thought it was interesting how it switched over from them to the Blood Angels. Okay, so we're just going to be looking for the most obvious places where the highlights would occur on the model. Continuing by looking for where the sharp edges that light would glint off and reflect off would be. We're going to the shoulder or the elbow pad here, right down the center, and then right along the edges. The trick that I've noticed is you cannot get upset with your highlights. If your highlights look too bright, you cannot throw in the towel, just say, oh, forget it, I'm not gonna do anymore. It's just too much work. Because once you get to the shades, that's really gonna help too. Your shades and your washes. If you mess up anything in this stage, it's still easily fixable. I like to paint all of the fingers, just drag the brush over all 4 of them, handling the bolt gun. Okay, and then usually I like to paint from the top, because you're imagining the lights coming down from the top, maybe at an angle. So it's always good to get this left arm, the one that's cradling the bolter. Right, and then when you're talking about doing the helmet, let's take a look at the helmet with the new Mark 8 helmets that have this kind of look to them. Yeah, another thing for you hobby newbies out there is that you'll notice when you're collecting Space Marines that some of them have different colored or different shaped helmets. Some of them don't wear helmets at all, like our sergeant guy here, but the ones that do wear helmets might be wearing these kind of helmets. Or they might have a little, what we call the beak to the front, this beaky guy. And that just differentiates the different marks. And in total, according to the history of Warhammer, there are 8 marks of armor so far, power armor for the Space Marines. And when you go back and look for any models, if you look on the Games Workshop website, they have this collection called Armor like Through the Ages or something, and there's actually a guy in there wearing Mark 1 armor, which is almost impossible to find nowadays. And even Forge World, the company that specializes in making resin figures rather than plastic and metal, their Mark 2 armor, which is the earliest mark of armor that they offer, looks really archaic compared to the Mark 7, Mark 8 models. Their leg armor is just a bunch of like plates overlapping and kind of bolted together. Their Mark 3 armor, the face plates look very much like old school Templar knights with the faceplate with the grill that comes down over the front. I mean, compared to these more quote-unquote current armor styles from the present. All those pre-heresy armors are just really cool. So when going for the backpack also has a lot of sharp edges, but it's also got these two, the two little exhaust ports on the top and the 4 ones at the back. So I like to paint the hard line edges here at the center part of the pack. And then if I can, just line the these 2 little knobs on either side. Okay. That's weird. I have to go back over that later. Sometimes I notice that when I leave my models out while the paint is drying, that stuff like lint or just dust particles in the air will land on it and gets kind of stuck there. Yeah, for example, I don't even know what this little mark is on his right leg, but I'm gonna have to cover that up with some Caliban green. Oh, speaking of Forge World stuff, I was looking at their kits for the Horus Heresy, because hopefully they're going to be coming out with more legions, more Primarchs, more armor sets, or it's really exciting to see all the new stuff coming out. Especially in all the old pre-Heresy Legion colors too. I'm sure somebody, one of the artists or designers at Forge World or Games Workshop, is trying to get their painters to paint up their armies in pre-Heresy color scheme, just so that they can show off the models and the kits better. I know I would. If I was an executive, I would say hey, you know what? A lot of people are interested in these pre-Heresy stuff, so let's get a team to paint them all up, make them look good, so we can start selling these kits. It's just good business. I was talking to a friend of mine on the forums, and just the whole, what is the appeal of playing, first of all, just even regular vanilla Space Marines, the ones that don't have codexes, like all the Space Marines so far that are not represented with their own codex, for example, like Raven Guard or White Scars, Iron Hands. anything that's in the quote-unquote Ultramarines Vanilla Legion book, or Vanilla Chapters book. And, you know, once you get to doing that, building an army and painting it and basing it, even though there's no inherent, there's no like individual codex for it, that all just means that you're really into the army, right? Rather than, oh, can this army net me some kind of tactical advantage on the battlefield? You're going in more because you like the story, you like the background of the Legion, you like the way that they paint their heraldry. Like, a lot of the reason why I think most people don't like to play something like the White Scars is because, number one, white is already such a hard color to paint, especially when you're doing it for an entire army. Even gray, for Space Wolves players out there, takes a while to get used to your own specific formula of gray and to use it all the time. But to do a completely white army with red accents, white power armor, where everybody's gonna look like your apothecary or medic, I think that's, by then it's all about just you doing it because you love the hobby, you love the game, you love the army, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Okay. For the red pieces, we are going to paint over the corn red, not so much highlight as just paint over Mephiston red. So we paint nice and even on the armor. And if you make a mistake, the only color underneath your armor right now is Caliban green, so you can just go back in and clean it up with that. Now we're going for the bolter. It's gonna give you a nice, rich, freshly killed tone. Yep, that's a red corner, or a red color. I really like it. Now we're painting the purity seals. Now let's go back in with Caliban green and fix up our mistakes. This is also where, when you have done your pilot color, your base color, you decide, is it worth it? Should I keep it? Should I not? I don't know. Alright, next we're gonna use, in fact, before we go back onto the green, let's do Wild Rider red. So for this, as much as possible, I'm going to try and stick to the outside of the emblem. And then clean my poor little December or November brush. There. Oh man, the Vogue is here in Hawaii. Like, we don't have fog because we don't have lots of cities and factories and workshops, but we have Vog, which is volcano ash that has arrived in here from the Big Island. And now it's making people sick, it's making them congested. It's not good. I love my eyes. They're the focal centerpiece of your army, so the more time you take with them, generally, the better. Oh, where's my numb oil? Igor. Yes, master. Could you find me my non oil? Here you are, master. Ah, thank you. So you're gonna get some non-oil, really water it down, and just paint some shading areas on your ice cubes for me to test out. Alright, and our guy's looking pretty spiffy. There's one more piece we're gonna go through before we do the shading and the glazing, and then we'll be done. And what is that piece? It is Moot Green, the final color in our green triad that we're gonna use to paint this guy. Now, because Moot Green is so prominent, we are mainly going to stick to corners this time. And hard edges. I found that less work is preferable. It was true in college and it's true today. Wake up, master. Don't sleep on the job. You might notice that with your Moot Green, because it's such a bright color, because it's that time of the afternoon, you might need some Taliban green to tie it back down. What I love about painting is that no one out there is going to get everything perfect the first time. So I just like to, you know, cover up my mistakes and repaint over stuff. And when you repaint over it, it looks like you're actually putting in a lot more effort. The thing that makes this moot green paint so salamander-y is that it's very neon. Neon yellow, bright yellow. But we will make through. Keep the target in frame, Igor. Sorry, master. Didn't you learn anything in film school? No. Yeah. Oh, I spilled my paint. It isn't hard with these stupid GW paint pots, but I know I've got some Dark Angels fans out there, so what I'd like to know from you is what makes this army so good in the current fluff, in the current game, and why did you choose it? Why did you choose Dark Angels, and what do you hope Games Workshop does with their next codex of the Dark Angels, when they revamp it next time? Kind of, you know, what are you hoping Games Workshop will do? Okay. Just gonna do a little bit more on the shoulder pads, or the elbow pads. This piece of armor right there. The gauntlet. Basically what I'm doing is I'm painting inside the lines of the highlight that I already did. And that's pretty much the secret of highlighting. Series of successive little brush strokes. So whether or not some people like to dry brush their highlights on, some people like to hand paint them, like myself, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have your 3-tiered highlighting formula. It's like I always say, if you try to highlight from the base color if you tried to do this color from the base color, it probably wouldn't come out looking very good. The highlight would be too stark. So we're going for like a gradual highlight. That's why you want to see the highlight that you've already done, that warpstone glow. You want to see it surrounding the new highlight. And anytime you make a mistake, you just go back over it, the color you had before. All right. Every time I think that I'm done, I see something else I missed. Down here at the bottom of the leg armor, there's that line for the actual boot. You've got a lot of great edge spaces. There. Am I done? Am I done? Yep. Like armor up here. There. So now we have to tie it all together because it's very garish and striking. So what we're going to do is, you can either use a shade, or what I'm going to do is use a glaze. In fact, should I use a... maybe I will. Let's see how this Athonian camo shade goes on. I tried BL Tan Green and you know, that's not for me, so yeah, I don't really like that. BL Tan Green was just a little too light. Let me see if there's, I think there's like one called Coelia Green shade. Let me see if I can find that for you guys. Along with, for next step, you will need this Weight Watcher Green glaze. So make sure you get that out. BL Tan, I guess, oh, here we are. Coelia. So I'm going to try it out, see how it works. Yeah, see, it's a nice dark blue green, so it'll tone everything down really nicely. The Dark Angel's armor scheme is so dark green as to almost look black, and that's what that's the effect you're gonna get when you use this shade. If you really like the bright green highlights, then I suggest checking out the Salamanders Space Marine chapter. They're another first founding chapter. I might do a video on them later. And they are bright green. Or not bright green, but their highlights on their armor is very bright green. So they really can pop. Geez, look, I shook the bottle before I opened it, and some more spillage. So, oh, so lame. Yeah, I think every painter should have a couple of base coats, especially if, well, if you're only doing a marine army, then you only need a couple of paints, right? So far for the green, I've used Caliban Green, Warpstone Glow, Mood Green, and now Quelea Green shade, and I've gotten a really nice effect. So if you're a new painter, a base color, a shade, a highlight should be all you need. Does look a little bit brighter with the highlights than this guy, but I think we should be okay. While we're waiting for that, all that green to dry, I'm gonna go back in and start highlighting. So I'm gonna take my Xandri dust, and I'm gonna start painting the... Okay, next we're gonna take some Ushabti bone and we're gonna highlight the knee pads as well as the Aquila on the chest. So let's start with the knee pads here. Start in the middle and move out. There we go. Now when painting the chest emblem on your Space Marines, after you wash, or after you do the base coat and then you wash it, you start with the highlight color and paint the most prominent edges and work your way slowly out. Then go to like each of the wings and work your way in, leaving the deeper shadows in the center. Okay. There, and you get something like that. The last highlight we're going to do is Pallid Witch Flesh. So just like before, we're going to start with the most prominent parts of the chest crest. Then work our way out. And we're just gonna touch up the edges. Pallid Witch Flesh is so light in color that we don't want to put too much of it. So there you have a very starkly highlighted chest crest. What I'm going to do is let that dry, and then when I come back I'm going to tie it in together with one more very light wash of Seraphim Sepia. But first, oops, that was the wrong one. I'm going to take some Rackard Flesh. We're going to paint in the purity seals. Just noticed that earlier today when I was doing the highlights for the bolt gun that I only did one highlight to Mephiston Red, so we'll do the second one right now. For this one you need Wild Rider Red. Just gonna paint the outsides, the edges, and the edges along the bottom. Okay, and we're gonna let that dry a little bit. And add some Mephiston Red just to tighten up those lines. Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna have to wait a bit because it's still kind of wet, so I'm gonna let that set a little bit longer. We're gonna take our Wild Rider Red and just line the outlines of the wax seals. I didn't know seals were made out of wax. Well, these are, Igor. I always thought they were made out of blubber. And blood and gristle is what comes out of him when you club him on the head. Okay, I blended a little bit more Ulthuan Gray into the shoulder badge there, so you can do that or not, depending on how Stark you want the highlight to be. Tony Stark. Now we're going to add a little bit of Tamiya Clear Red onto the eye lenses. It's not just for blood anymore, kids. That's right. Make your eye lenses look awesome. Okay, let's take a look. What's so funny? My lady friend is laughing at me. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna do is, before we finish the bases and finish this guy up, oh, what's that? Is we're gonna take a Micron Art Studio pen, 0.005, and we are going to write
Before you do that,
in.
can I have my dress back?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not wearing a dress. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And we are going to write in purity seals.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna make people think things about me that are not true.
Just take it off, please.
No. Can't do that because I'm not really wearing a dress. I'm wearing pants and a shirt. Like a man.
Well, when you're done, I need it back.
You're so dumb. You're so stupid. I'm trying to convince my lady friend to paint something. And if you're still watching at this point, everybody out there who's still watching, I'd love it if you could write comments asking her to paint something already. There we go. All done. So if you want to be more detailed, you can get right in there, but I think for just, you know, having a nice looking purity seal that kind of reads for what it is from across the table, that works pretty good. You can also take your Micron Arts pen and write scroll or do scroll work or stuff on the front. You can really do anything. So I'm gonna go finish this guy's base up and then we will wrap up. And I think I'm actually gonna put that at the beginning of the video. So this is our finished Space Marine from the Dark Angels chapter, originally the First Legion. And he's gonna go with the rest of my Dark Angel boys here. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next video. Latest, players!